fisherwomen are really, really cross. We heard earlier from Elspeth MacDonald from the Scottish Fishermen's Federation, this deal is a horror show. She said it's far worse than Boris Johnson's botched Brexit agreement. We are at the beginning of a lot of stories about Brexit. It's like 2016 never happened, Michelle.
A few people are getting in touch asking about energy, about this emissions, carbon side of things. What happened there?
Well, that's an agreement. So we will not be subject to a emissions tax, which the European Union were going to bring in next year. And we are not going to be subject to tariffs on our steel industry. That will save £25 million a year. It means our companies here who trade across the border into the European Union will not be subject to a big EU tax. So that's okay. Also, we were told earlier in a briefing by the government it won't affect net zero. The net zero, the target the government set, that is separate because that's a sovereignty issue, and that's set by the government through the Climate Change Act. So again, lots to unpack on GBNews over the next 24, 48 hours.
Christopher Hope, thank you for bringing us up to speed with all of that. We'll get stuck into all of this, but I want to bring you into this conversation. I repeat, you can use the Your Say on the website, and of course you can email me at gbviews@gbnews.com. Lots and lots of you are getting in touch. There's not much optimism that I'm sensing through the inbox at the moment, so I do want to hear that perspective. If you are optimistic, get in touch and tell me. Barry Gardner, I suspect you're optimistic.
Well, look, all trade deals are a balance. You have to give stuff, they have to give stuff, and it's a matter of what you want. If you remember back to the Brexit debate, Michelle, those people who are arguing for Brexit have in effect got what they said at the time, because you'll remember one of their arguments was, look, we actually have the same regulations about our food standards and sanitary and phytosanitary controls as the EU at the moment. So there's no way, the Brexiteers used to say, that they will impose border controls on the stuff that we want to export to Europe. Well, unfortunately, they did. But now what we've managed to negotiate is saying to them, look, we have the same regulations, why don't we drop the border controls? And the EU's agreed to that, and that's going to be worth millions to our exporters, because one of the things that the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs Committee did after Brexit was to actually bring in all the exporters who were saying, we're having terrible time because our langoustine are being blocked at the border. They then go off before we can get them into French restaurants. Our trade is being blocked and the food is going off. Now, all of that won't happen now. That is a great plus.
Oh, Barry Gardner, yes, that's fine. We can get rid of some of these checks as you're suggesting, but people at home will be shouting out, but hold on a second, because the flip side of that was that essentially now we have to bow down to their rules, their regulations, and we don't essentially have a veto on what those are.
But we don't, because we haven't joined the customs union. So at any stage, let's say the...
Why don't they align with our rules? Why did we have to match theirs?
Well, they have. Our rules are actually the same. That's the point. So we are aligned, and we're simply saying because we're aligned, we don't need to do this. But in the future, at any stage, if the EU were to suddenly lower their requirements on food regulations, we could say, no, sorry, we're actually going to now come out of this because you've changed the rules of the game.
Do you share that optimism, Sarah? You?
This is absolute nonsense. I mean, Barry's talking about langoustine and getting them across the border. Well, I can tell you that my constituents, do not have enough money in their pocket to be buying langoustine or being in complete... No, you've had your say, Barry. My turn. This is an absolute betrayal of Brexit. It'll come to no surprise to anyone watching this programme that I was an avid Brexiteer. But Keir Starmer is taking us on a slow march back into Europe. He is absolutely betraying the will of the British people. Keir Starmer has called this a win-win deal. It's a lose-lose deal. He sold out the British workers with his Indian trade deal. He sold out the farmers with his US trade deal. And now he has completely sold out the British fishing industry. It is finished with this deal, let alone the fact that we will become closer aligned once again to the European Court of Justice, which we absolutely do not want. We have the best courts and the laws in the land, in this country. We do not want to be aligned closer to them again. And And all this talk about letting lorries through the border with Barry's langoustine on it without being checked, well, that is just dragging us back towards EU regulation and checks that we don't want and red tape that we don't want.
Well, there you go. You've both had an initial say. You can have your initial say at home, all the usual ways. The conversation will continue in 2.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
Recently, Meghan Markle did a cookery show.
She did.
What happened? Because you made a certain comment and she...
I was asked by a national newspaper to basically review the show, what I thought from a chef's perspective. So I did, and really the opinions came across quite strong.
What kind of things did you say? Can you say?
Well, I didn't think it was a great show, to be honest with you. I felt that it was a bit forced and fake and stuff, which I've been on this show on GBNews and explained that before, but I think the problems with Meghan was that Netflix are looking for things to do with her. You know, she's not going to be racing cars and she's not going to be doing this and she's not going to be doing that. So I think they've kind of thrown her into the whole kind of cookery thing, make a nice show about it and, try and recoup some money.
And in it, there was a potential that you may have said that she didn't appear to be a great chef or she might not be able to cook or...
Well, my understanding...
Recount what you can say and then we don't want you to get in trouble.
No, I think that, again, I go back to what I just said then. I think they've kind of thrown her into something. They thought to themselves what they're going to do with Meghan next. And basically they've kind of thought, well, most people can cook. Let's create a cookery show. Let's make her the new Martha Stewart. Let's try and recoup some money. Let's do, I won't be surprised if they're going to bring out pans and knives and tea towels as well as what she's already launched already. And, I think it's... From a chef's perspective, it's very disappointing that streaming sites are, backing people who have got really no experience in the industry and don't really have the right to be teaching people how to cook.
Well, she did make a really nice sort of like fruit rainbow where she put all the fruit in the thing in one and the other. And...
That must have been episode 1 because I stopped after episode 1.
No, do you?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello everybody, Dewbs Co with me, Michelle Dewberry alongside me. I've got Sarah Purchin, the New Reform UK MP, and Barry Gardner, the Labour MP. Now, huge, strong opinions. Andrew says, so much for democracy. We've handed all of our control back to the EU, along with our purse strings. What on earth was the point of voting? Jackie says, fishermen especially have been sold out today, Michelle. Of course, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about the new UK-EU reset deal, win-win, was how Keir Starmer described it. Other people calling it slightly harsher words. Let's listen to Boris Johnson.
He's done a total sellout on our fisheries. A large part of Brexit was taking back control of our fantastic coastal waters. From January next year, under the deal that we did, we were going to get back control of every single sprat and mackerel in UK waters. He's put that off for at least 12 years, allowed Macron, which is what he wanted, allowed the French and many others to plunder UK waters again.
Why on earth did the Labour Party do this deal lasting 12 years?
It's very simple, actually, because at the moment, the quota that we have is so large that our inshore fleet can't meet it. And therefore, at the moment, as agreed by them, as agreed in the current negotiations that went on last December, the EU, mainly French and Dutch, have access into our coastal waters. Now, what we want to do, of course, is to build that inshore fleet. And there's another thing that we need to do, and I actually think the French haven't cottoned on to this, and that is that the phase 2 of the round of marine protected areas is about to be announced. Sorry, phase 3 of the marine protected areas is about to be announced by the Coastal Authority. And when that is done, they will be eliminating certain areas from all bottom trawling in those marine protected areas. So I think the French may have thought that they were getting more than they actually are. And also, our fishermen need to build up those inshore fleets so that we can take advantage of the quota that we will be getting. So,
but Barry, those bottom trawlers are still allowed into our waters. Those big
are at the moment,
vessels.
yeah.
And that's going to carry on. That's not going to change. That's part of the deal. And so we're still going to be, subject to that type of intense disruption to our waters.
No, you misunderstand what I'm saying, because, in fact, the MPA, the marine protected areas that we're introducing, will actually preclude from some of the most important areas of our inshore waters anybody from going in there. Now, what that does, actually, is it enables there to be spawning grounds, it enables there to be even more fish that are able to be caught outside. But trawling is one of the most destructive things you can do.
And you haven't protected our waters from it. You said this is going to happen, but it's not happened. We're going into this deal...
That's what the MPAs are about. That's what the
we're
marine
going into
protected
this
areas are
deal
about.
without that being in place. It doesn't matter how you try and soften it or dress it up. This is the end of the British fishing industry.
It really isn't.
Well, I've got to tell you, a lot of fishermen or fisher person, I don't know what it's supposed to call them these days, but fishermen, a lot of them disagree with you. I mean, I've been watching coverage on this channel and in other places as well. So many people involved with the fishing industry have got in touch. They're absolutely devastated. They're angry. They're devastated. They feel that no regard has been paid to their industry whatsoever, that there was sold out at the first referendum. Not a jot has been cared about them on this one. They simply cannot understand why they are held in such low regard. That is their feeling.
Let's look at what they comprise in terms of UK industry. It's less than 0.5% of our industry, whereas if you take, for example, the rest of our food supply into Europe, and we're not just talking about langoustines, in fairness, we're talking about sausages, we're talking about pies, we're talking about all sorts of food products. It's actually our biggest manufacturing industry in this country is food. It's food production. And therefore, to be able to get that into Europe now, without all those border checks, without all that additional cost that all those producers were paying, is hugely more valuable to our economy. And as I say, look, there is in
so
any
trade... So do you accept then that you've put fishermen at the lowest end, you've put them right down the pecking order then?
They represent... No, not at all, because I think actually what we've done is enabling our fishing fleet, our inshore fleet, to expand in the time that they have to be able to take advantage of the quota that we will then have. Well, it won't be quota, it'll all be ours in that.
Barry, it doesn't matter how you dress it up. The fishing industry, the British fishermen, the French fishermen, this has been one of the most emotive issues for decades.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yet again, France has managed to get their fishermen to stand up for their fishermen and get this deal through.
And we've been able to stand up for our food production industry.
Once again, the UK government has not stood up for its fishermen. And as I started with this conversation, Keir Starmer has sold out our fishing industry. It doesn't matter how you dress it up, that's a fact. And the French have won this battle, and it's very emotive. And there they are in our waters for the next 12 years.
That's a great soundbite, but it just doesn't correspond with the facts, I'm afraid.
Another aspect that'll get people talking is defence. This whole access to this rearmament fund.
Yes.
Where are you on this? I mean, I've got to say, we don't even know the costs of a lot of this stuff. All of that detail, of course, will come out in due course.
Look, I just don't understand what part of this deal is good for us. Our defence industry is leading in the world in terms of its technology and its ability to create, to create weapons at the end of the day. Why are we having to pay millions, if not billions, to have access to bid for contracts? We're not talking about being, having any favourable treatment. We're just talking about having access to bid for contracts, for arms contracts. Now, the fact is, we are leading the way, so surely people should be paying us to be bidding for our contracts. Why are we giving in? This is no deal. This is another example of trying to fool the UK public. The UK public are not stupid. They know that we have some of the best arms productions in the world. Why are we paying to even have the opportunity to win these deals?
Barry?
No, I think it's about co-production and what we do. And if you look at some of the best weaponry that we have been part of creating, is when we are corresponding with other countries and manufacturing together. And we will put part of the components in there. They will put part of the components in there, and then we sell it and we get a proportionate share of it. So it's our contribution to what we will be producing together.
Which, Barry, will have to pay millions to even get the opportunity to contribute. So that is no deal.
Well, I'm sorry, if it means, as Chopper actually said on the programme, that this is worth potentially £9 billion to our defence industries, then it's certainly one that the defence industries themselves, you said, well, look what the fishermen are saying. Let's look at what the defence industries are saying. They're saying we've been crying out for this. We were excluded. We're now back in the frame. We're going to be able to produce. We're going to be able to actually get the financial
It's not
benefit.
the defence industries that will have to be paying the millions, if not billions, to even get the opportunity to go down this road. It'll be, yet again, the British taxpayer sold out by the Labour government.
They are the ones who will get the jobs in those defence industries. They're the ones that will get the benefits of the tax that those industries will be paying, and it's worth a huge amount to this country.
Well, we'll see, but I would disagree with that wholeheartedly. I still don't understand why we have to pay to bid on these contracts.
When you say, by the way, we thought this will be worth a huge amount, just put some context on this. Apparently, all of this that we know so far will add around 0.3% to GDP over a 15-year period. Youth mobility, that was another thing that was discussed at length. Again, shy on the detail. What, if anything, is going to happen? Caps, all the rest of it, we still don't really know.
Again, this is another example of Keir Starmer taking us right back into Europe. The borders are going to open under this youth mobility scheme, which is 18 to 30-year-olds. Well, I don't know. I would never call a 30-year-old a youth, but they are adults. The fact is, as we are opening the doors potentially to 80 million people, 80 million people would be eligible under this scheme. You might laugh, Barry, it's a fact. 80 million people will be eligible under this scheme to come into this country, to use our health service, to use our doctors, our dentists.
That's completely wrong.
To claim benefits.
It's totally wrong.
Bring their families. We cannot sustain this. You are opening the doors to Europe again.
Sorry, this is scaremongering, and let me explain why. Because actually the youth mobility scheme, we've got precedents, right? We've got dozens of these schemes already in operation, over 12 schemes already in operation. They are capped in numbers. So the idea that 80 million...
This one's not capped in numbers.
This one doesn't exist yet.
But there's no guarantee that there's going to be a cap in numbers.
We know... Well, all you can do is you can say, this is how these schemes operate. You're pretending that these schemes operate in a different way. So let me explain. There will be, at the current rate of all the schemes that there are caps in numbers. They cannot avail themselves of our health service. They have to pay a health surcharge. They cannot avail themselves...
They don't, Barry.
Sorry.
They don't. They're not turned away by the National Health Service.
I'm sorry.
Anyone that goes and turns up...
They pay a health surcharge in order to get the visa, right? It is a visa system. It is a capped visa system. And Reform UK and nobody else, the Conservatives or anybody, Conservatives initiated many of the schemes anyway, but nobody has ever said of any of the other schemes that they're operating imperfectly, that they shouldn't be operating. And in fact, more of our young people go to work and live abroad than actually come in under this scheme. So in terms of net migration, the likelihood, if it operates as all the other schemes have, is that it will reduce net migration.
I think you're utterly trying to fool the British public once again. We know that Keir Starmer, of you, wants to open the doors into Europe.
Tell me about
We cannot sustain any more mass migration into this country.
Of course, we're not talking about that. What I'm asking you to do is to analyse all the schemes that exist and to show me one aspect of them which it would, if it were continued into the new youth mobility scheme, if there were such a thing.
And why do we need another one? If we've got 12 schemes already, why do we need another one?
Because our young people want to be able to go and spend time working in Europe.
You've just said we've got 12 schemes already.
Yes,
this is
with other countries.
This is another
the
example.
United States,
This is
Japan.
another example of where we are giving everything away to Europe, and Europe are laughing all the way back to their countries.
Well, again, another soundbite, but no facts.
Because you're right in some of the stuff that you say about, it's capped and there's a surcharge and all the rest of it. You're factually accurate in that. So if we are to assume that an EU scheme would emulate that, so it would be capped and all the rest of it, why aren't the government then clearly communicating, look, whilst we're fleshing out the detail, worry not, ladies and gents, because it definitely will be capped. It definitely will have restrictions. Why isn't that the mood music coming out of the government then?
Because when you're in the midst of a negotiation, and they're saying that this will not probably happen at least until next year with a new round of negotiations. But when you're in the midst of negotiation, you don't in public set your negotiation strategy. So, but what we do know, and indeed Johnny Reynolds was on the radio this morning setting out the way in which the other schemes operated, saying this is how they're proposing to do it. We have to say, if it goes in the same way as all the others, it will be a benefit to our young people. It'll enable them to go and get experience, get language skills, get experience in other countries around Europe, and actually it would be beneficial to net migration.
So do you feel concerned about a potential youth mobility scheme or not? Do you have kids, grandkids that you think might benefit in the round? Do you think it would be a good thing or not? A poll out actually suggests that 44% of Britons feel like a stranger in this country. I wonder how that'd get better or worse if we had new schemes coming in. Get in touch and tell me, are you one of those 44%? And what, if anything, would make that better?
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Well, looking further afield, there are heavy showers around with the risk of thunderstorms, but mixed with plenty of warm sunny spells. So across Madeira, the Canary Islands, fine and dry on Tuesday. Likewise for much of Spain and Portugal. But we do have this area of low pressure bringing heavy spells of showers and thunderstorms across parts of Europe. Plenty of sunshine further towards the east and feeling warm here too. Otherwise, sunshine and showers, highs of 26.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, we'll see a mix of sunshine and showers, though the odd shower could be heavy, perhaps even bringing the odd rumble of thunder, but feeling a little warmer into the afternoon compared to today. And taking a look at the bigger picture, we've got high pressure situated to the north of the country, though at times this drags in a northeasterly flow of air, so that brings in more cloud, more moisture drifting in from the North Sea, so it could lead to a murky start across eastern parts of England, though it should be largely dry. The odd shower still possible across northern parts of England, central parts of England and Wales, but many towns and cities holding up in the mid to high single figures. So to start the day across Scotland, once again largely dry, fairly bright, particularly across the west. There's still that lingering low cloud across some eastern counties, a bit of a breeze across the northeast too. and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Largely dry, though still that low cloud bringing quite a murky feel to the start of the day across eastern parts of England. But across the rest of England and Wales, fairly similar, largely dry and bright, and a fairly mild start to the day, warming up nicely too, particularly as we head into the afternoon. And remaining dry, though, any cloud pushing back towards eastern counties where it may linger for much of the day. And as we head into the afternoon, there is a risk of showers, particularly across Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern parts of England. The odd shower turning heavy, possibly even thundery later into the afternoon, but largely dry for most, plenty of sunshine to go around and feeling warm, highs of around 23 degrees Celsius. Very different day on offer across central and southern parts as we head into Wednesday. More cloud, outbreaks of rain and also showers. Once again, this could turn heavy at times. But for Northern Ireland, Scotland, northern parts of England, largely dry and bright after a chilly start and remaining dry to end the week before a return of the rain and showers as we head towards the bank holiday weekend and temperatures on the downturn.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Dewbs Co with me, Michelle Dewberry, alongside me not one but two MPs. What a treat for you. I've got Sarah Perchin, Reform UK, and I've got Barry Gardner, of course, Labour. Now, we have been talking about the EU Brexit deal. Most of you, I'm going to summarise, most of you are not elated by the prospect of what this deal will create, how much it will cost and what the outcome will be. I'm really keen to hear from you, though. If you are sitting there, you're shouting your optimism at the screen, we all like a little bit of that. You can join the conversation as well. But look, of course, Keir Starmer, he got into trouble, didn't he? It was a bit pathetic, really. People were connecting him and suggesting that he was some kind of modern-day Enoch Powell because of some of the sentences he used in his immigration strategy. But anyway, now a poll has been conducted that said that 44% of Brits do agree that actually the UK is at risk of becoming an island of strangers. What do you think to this, Sarah?
Look, my experience from running the recent by-election campaign up in Runcorn and Helsby is that people are feeling just that. They are feeling that there's a lot of illegal immigration, certainly in Runcorn, and it is dividing the community. People are frightened where they have houses of multiple occupancy to leave their homes. They don't feel safe on the streets. They feel that there are different cultures and there is no integration. Now, from my point of view, from what I've seen in over 20 years as being a magistrate, the most important thing is that people, when they come to this country, learn to speak English and learn to integrate and want to integrate in our society. Without that, then you will always get division and feelings of fear and uncertainty, and both ways, incidentally. So the best thing people can do as a starter for 10 is to learn to speak English. And I'm talking about, you know, legal migration and people that come in and bring their families. I've seen so many families that don't learn to speak English, and the women particularly stay very, very isolated in homes because they're not integrated into the community. And that, you know, that very fact causes division, and people don't know about each other's cultures, and it's just a non-starter. Everybody has to start by learning the language.
Yeah, and I've got to say, it's 44% of Brits say that sometimes they feel like they're strangers to those around them. That actually rises to 47% of Asian/ Asian British. Barry, your thoughts?
Look, I'm glad we've got a point of agreement here, because it's actually one of the things that the government has just put into the immigration consultation white paper, that we should introduce stricter requirements for English language, and not only for those who are coming over as skilled workers to work in our economy, but actually for their dependents as well, to the point
Yes.
that you were making. So I think that is really important. I do think it was unfortunate that Keir Starmer used the phrase in the context that he did.
Why?
Because, no, I'll tell you why. Because when More in Common did this survey, it was looking at it from the point of view of isolation and the things that make us feel isolated and estranged from, rather than strangers as in abroad, but estranged from other people. So, for example, you know, now that companies are asking people to work from home sometimes, or allowing people to work from home, they don't have that community that they're part of. You see people in their restaurants, they're on their phones all the time, not talking to each other even. In a public space, they're on their phones. And I think the way in which previously things like church-going were much more part of the fabric of our society, that was a space in which people would congregate and feel that sense of community. And so I think people are actually feeling isolated, and we see it in the mental health outcomes that are so worrying, particularly for young people. You know, it's now a real problem, an epidemic of mental health,
and I think
for young men in particular.
I think the whole COVID thing didn't help with that, because
Yes,
young people
absolutely
have
right.
grown up of that sort of age now, where they're like early 20s, have gone through COVID, they've been isolated at home, they've done nothing but sit on their, you know, iPads, iPhones and all the rest of it. There's so many keyboard warriors now, and it's so destructive for people on the receiving end of either cyberbullying or whatever it might be. But it's impacting every part of our lives. And this is the generation that we need to come through, be robust, be strong, and lead this country in the future. I mean, we're not going to be here forever, are we, Barry? But the point is they, you know, a lot of them aren't robust, and they are not confident about going out and integrating in society. And I think it is a real issue that I don't know quite how we're going to tackle it, because we can't rein in the beast of social media. We can't rein in the beast of people sitting.
Do you find it
on their
easy to
phones.
take social media breaks?
Personally, I don't look at Twitter, and I have a Facebook page as a politician. But before I started the by-election campaign, I didn't. When I've done previous public roles in the past, when I was a mayor, for example, I did. But I just don't do it. I don't go looking for it.
Do you take breaks off social media?
Oh, yes. And I don't use social media very much now. But I think the important thing is this. We are social animals. Sometimes we forget that we're animals. We think that we can't look at ourselves from an anthropological point of view. But if you look at human beings, we are very social animals. And what's happened is our society is breaking that down. It's taking us away from other people, away from engaging in that social engagement that we really benefit from.
Yep.
And that is doing something really damaging to our mental health.
I agree.
There you go. We've got a point of agreement. I used to work on a supermarket checkout, and I always remember how many older people, I felt like I was their only interaction of the day. They'd take ages putting their food through, and we'd have a little chat. And every time I see these self-checkout things, which I hate, by the way, but I always think to myself, do you know, that is just another kind of way where we've become disconnected to each other, isn't it? What do you think to it all? Get in touch and join the conversation all the usual ways. There is a lot that we need to discuss coming up after the break. Prison recall rules. Now, Sarah, to my right, she's suggesting that these changes could put women's lives at risk. I'll see you in 2.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewberry, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello everybody, Michelle Dewberry till 7 o'clock, Sarah Perchin and Barry Gardner, the two MPs alongside me. We started the programme by talking about the UK-EU deal. We've got some of those details out today. There's not a huge amount of support for the youth mobility scheme that is potentially soon to be upon us. Archie says this is just an excuse for people to come here, and then once they come here, apparently you can't get rid of them. You see, Barry was arguing back quite eloquently that actually the schemes that exist at the moment have caps and all the rest of it. I asked you then, why wouldn't the government be making that point clear, that you would emulate that? And you said you don't play your hand publicly in a negotiation. But one of my viewers, Simon, has got in touch saying, hold on a second, because surely the caps and things wouldn't be a negotiating lever. They would be a red line.
Well, look, Michelle, that's a fair point. But that's why I think Johnny Reynolds has been out on the airwaves today stating, look, this is how these schemes operate. And I expect, and I think most people expect, that that's how they will operate if we eventually get a deal next year.
Well, you will be the judge of whether or not you trust that. Now, speaking of judges, when it comes to sentencing in this country, we all know by now that the prison system is an absolute disaster. Prisons at capacity, and all sides now looking at how on earth do we fix the situation now. One of the suggestions is in terms of recall, when people have basically done something that they shouldn't have done when they're out, they get recalled to prison. Now there'll be a 28-day cap. You wrote an article suggesting that that would potentially put women's lives at risk. Tell us why.
Yeah, so what I was referring to there, the way it works at the moment is this is directed at a group of prisoners who have been given between 1 and 4 years as a custodial sentence. They're already only having to serve half of that. In fact, I think it may even get a bit lower now under this government with the capacity that the prisons are at. But the point is, they're allowed out into the society. They are under supervision. If they commit another crime, they are recalled to prison. It used to be the fact that they had to serve their entire sentence then. because they'd been given a chance and they'd messed it up. Now what this government is saying is they will be recalled, but only have to serve 28 days. So they could have served 2 years of a 4-year sentence, come back, have committed a crime again, be recalled for only 28 days and be let out again. And the point I'm making is some of those prisoners, some of those defendants have committed domestic violence crimes. Now, we know that if they are let out on supervision and they've committed the same crime, then recalled for 28 days and they're out again, they will go on inevitably to do severe damage to that woman, if not kill that woman. That is a fact. That's how domestic violence, sadly, it shows itself.
Barry?
Look, I think it's a very good point, and it is something that we need to take very seriously. I know the government is looking now at these restrictions, putting the restrictions on where people are allowed to go, the contact they're allowed to have with anybody that they have engaged in domestic violence with, and so on. But I think the fundamental point, which I think we probably agree on, is that in 14 years, the Conservatives built 500 new prison places. In the past 7 or 8 months, we have created 2,400 new places, and we're now spending £4.7 billion building 14,000 new prison places. But we can't simply build more prisons. We have to start reforming people. We have to start getting prison. Yes, it should punish people when they go in there. That's number one. But we don't want to be turning out people who are as criminal or more criminal than they were when they went in.
I agree, Barry.
We need to rehabilitate.
I agree with
rehabilitation.
Yeah. I do agree with rehabilitation. But in the cases that we're talking about, and I totally agree that the Tories failed miserably to predict the prison population. They failed miserably to build the prisons that we need, the prison spaces that we need. So we definitely agree on that. But when you say that you freed up prison spaces, you freed up prison spaces because of your early release scheme. And we have seen, the public are so angry, we have seen on the television pictures of these prisoners being released, popping the champagne, being picked up in flash cars. None of us want to see that. It's an absolute abuse of the system. That's why you freed up places. Now, I'm not disagreeing that the prisons are full and we've got an absolute crisis in our prisons, and it's why I want to speak on this issue.
Can I add one more thing? And I think broadly we're in agreement on this. But I think the real issue here also is that why are our courts taking so long to send back people who shouldn't be here? They are doing because the courts are blocked because they can't put anybody into prison. And freeing it up frees up the court system. It then means that we can free up the backlog of cases with failed asylum seekers.
I can hear you. There's nothing wrong with my ears, ladies and gents. I can hear you all shouting from your sofas, and I bet I know what you're shouting. You're shouting, Michelle, the way that you free up places in prisons is by deporting multiple thousands, tens of thousands. I think we've got 10,000 odd foreign criminals in the jails. I can hear you saying, get them out. Your problem is
Do you not want to punish them, Michelle? Do you not want to punish them?
Let their countries punish them.
But they won't.
There you go.
Send them back.
The debate continues tomorrow.
And let their own country.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into tomorrow, we'll see a mix of sunshine and showers, though the odd shower could be heavy, perhaps even bringing the odd rumble of thunder, but feeling a little warmer into the afternoon compared to today. And taking a look at the bigger picture, we've got high pressure situated to the north of the country, though at times this drags in a northeasterly flow of air, so that brings in more cloud, more moisture drifting in from the North Sea. So it could lead to a murky start across eastern parts of England, though it should be largely dry. The odd shower still possible across northern parts of England, central parts of England and Wales, but many towns and cities holding up in the mid to high single figures. So to start the day across Scotland, once again largely dry, fairly bright, particularly across the west. There's still that lingering low cloud across some eastern counties, a bit of a breeze across the northeast too, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Largely dry, though still that low cloud bringing quite a murky feel to the start of the day across eastern parts of England. But across the rest of England and Wales, fairly similar, largely dry and bright, and a fairly mild start to the day, warming up nicely too, particularly as we head into the afternoon, and remaining dry though, any cloud pushing back towards eastern counties where it may linger for much of the day. And as we head into the afternoon, there is a risk of showers, particularly across Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern parts of England. The odd shower turning heavy, possibly even thundery later into the afternoon, but largely dry for most, plenty of sunshine to go around and feeling warm, highs of around 23 degrees Celsius. Very different day on offer across central and southern parts as we head into Wednesday. More cloud, outbreaks of rain and also showers. Once again, this could turn heavy at times. But for Northern Ireland, Scotland, northern parts of England, largely dry and bright after a chilly start and remaining dry to end the week before a return of the rain and showers as we head towards the bank holiday weekend and temperatures on the downturn.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers. Sponsors of weather on GB News.
Someone is going to win the biggest prize package to date, and that someone could be you. Driving away in this Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It has plenty of room for your family of four. Comes complete with kitchen, bathroom, and all the space you'll need for life on the road. Plus, we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewberry, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in